WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something called Cask Speyside. Now this is the first edition. This cost me €32.90. This is a single malt from A.D. Rattray. Now they actually have an Orkney 18-year-old. They have an Islay cask strength. They have an Islay and they have an Islay sherry. And this is part of the Cask of Scotland series. Now A.D. Rattray is basically an independent bottler, and they have had fairly good success in some of their different areas. For example, the Cask of Scotland. Now, I'm not a very particular fan of the color, I'm sorry. This is basically a riverbank. You can see the stones, you can see the river, you can actually see this. I guess this would be Spey. I would have had it in blue, but hey, why not have a green river? Oh well. Now, when you go to the site of A.D. Rattray and you want to take a look at something for this Cask Speyside, the very first information I received here in the middle of March is the information that Nick White, their managing director, passed away. My condolences here on this. It's very, very, very terrible when the one of the major persons of the company, after months of illness, passes away. And yeah, so sorry. Now, Cask Speyside is a 10-year-old whiskey. It's non-chilled filtered, as I mentioned. It's no color added, and it's €32, and it's 46%. I'm going to take something that many, many people use just as their control whiskey. Yeah, this is basically more or less to calibrate our palates. And this is the Glenfiddich. Whoops. Good job, Jason. The Glenfiddich 15-year-old. Now this is not natural color. This is non-chilled filtered, and this is only 40%. So why am I doing it? Well, basically this is one of the best-selling whiskeys of the world, and I thought it'd be interesting just to compare the two, because I have the feeling that this thing's going to be a little bit better. Personal opinion. All right, let's take a look at the color first of all. All right, so hopefully you can see this. You can see on the right-hand side, at least my right-hand side, that natural color means very, very light, and adding the coloring actually changes the color a little bit more pleasant to the eye. All right, so it's not better for the palate, but it's more pleasant to the eye. At least it suggests higher quality, which it might not be. On the nose, oh, this is nice. I like this. I like this. This is lemon meringue pie. It's a very zesty type of lemon. It's actually a little bit of creamy. There's that nice barley sugar in there. A tiny little bit of oak towards the end. A tiny little bit of honey. A typical Speyside. Now, what Speyside distillery is behind this bottling? Don't know. Good guess? Don't know. All right, Glenfiddich, on the other hand. Not as much lemon. A little bit of the honey, a little bit of like a woody oakiness, but nothing where I can really say, wow. The nose wins without even trying on this one. I really need to find that nose here. All right, so on paper, this wins. We got the alcohol, 46%. We have the non-chilled filtered, and we have the natural color. Very, very good. And we have a price which is very competitive to this. And we have an age statement, 10 years of age. So this basically only wins in the category, or can actually compete in the category with age statement, 12. Everything else is less. Okay, cheers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. This actually has little tiny transitions. Oh, it gets sweeter towards the end, and then it actually tapers off a little bit, and you get a tiny, tiny little bit of, I'm going to call it tired cask moment. So let's do a little imaginary exercise. Imagine you own a new distillery. All right, you're Annandale in the lowlands of Scotland. You have your new distillery up and running. You need something to put your distillate into. So, and of course you use, hopefully, maybe good ex-bourbon casks. Maybe you have sherry, maybe you have some other stuff, Madeira, STR, whatever. But the majority is probably going to go into bourbon casks. So where do you get the bourbon casks? Of course, you could buy them on the open market. To be very honest, in Scotland, there are not many second fill bourbon barrels to be bought. Why not? Well, the problem is when a company buys them, they reuse them themselves. So what happens is you basically call up either an agent or you actually contact the distilleries yourself, for example, Maker's Mark or Wild Turkey or Heaven Hill or whoever else you want to contact, and you say, hey, I'd like to buy a container of your old casks. Virgin oak has to be used in bourbon, and the first fill is the only time you can use them. The second time it's not allowed for bourbon, so these casks are basically useless. They have to get rid of them. Cost maybe about $100 to create or make a cask. You can sell them maybe for 50 euros. Hey, cut your losses. Very good. Get rid of them. And one of the best things that can happen to a distillery, like Four Roses or someplace else, is to actually sell them container and buy the container. Put about 400 bourbon barrels in a container. Everyone's happy. Boom. You take the bourbon barrels, you fill them up, you let them set for maybe 10 years, maybe 12 years. That's a beautiful, beautiful whiskey. A 12-year-old first fill bourbon cask. And then what happens is you empty them and you go, hey, I have a bourbon barrel here. It's now second fill bourbon barrel. Third time used, first time in America, first fill, and now the second fill, which would be the third time, and you use it again. Hey, why not? It's there. Now this barrel is basically like a tea bag. And all the different things you have in that barrel, all the nice little components that you're trying to put into your whiskey actually is in the barrel, and it's being taken out. It's being leached out of that by the water and by the alcohol. And so the second time you use it in Scotland, you're getting less. So you use it a little bit longer, maybe 12 to 15 years. And what are you going to do? You're going to use it a third time, which will be the fourth time that barrel has been filled with something. And some places have actually used them a fourth time, which would be the fifth time something has been in there. Those are very tired casks. And now the problem, what happens is you're no longer getting the vanillas. What's happening is you're leaching out more of a tannin type of old cask moment, which I barely have here. But now the story has its point. Mm-hmm. Honey, barley, and then that tapering off of that old wood experience for me. I get some tannin, some bitterness. And that kind of almost ruins the sweetness and the nice amount of flavor we had at the beginning. And it just tapers off in a bad direction. Why? Because here we have a lot of second, third, maybe even fourth fill casks that have been used here. I can guarantee you that there's not that many first fill barrels in the 12-year-old Glenfiddich. Why? Because they're expensive. Now you're still paying with transport and everything about 80 euros per barrel to get them over to the UK. And so if you use them once, and it's the original cost, and the second time is only half the cost, and then half the cost of that, and so on. And so there's a lot of second and third and maybe even fourth fill in here. And I taste it. I don't know if you taste it, but I get that old barrel moment there. And so I'm missing out on a very, very nice experience, which I have here. I actually have a very, very nice experience. And I'm going to give you a little tip here. If you ever find this bottle in the States, and I don't even know if they actually send it to the States, I do know that it's available in Ireland and the UK. You can actually put some water in this, dilute it down to like 43, 42%. And what happens is, in my personal opinion, the nose gets a little worse. It's a little bit more of a woody moment that catches on in the nose, but on the taste, mm, mm-hmm. And the palate still has enough oomph. There's still enough alcohol there, and it actually almost postpones most of that tiny little bit of bitter wood that was there at the beginning. It's very fractional. It's very, very subtle towards the end. Before it was like this, and now it's like this. And you have more from your bottle if you actually dilute it down in your glass a tiny little bit, and it stretches a little bit, and actually the taste, in my personal opinion, improves a bit. All right, I'm going to give this actually a very solid C, teetering on a C plus. Um, for what it is, for all the facts, the nose, the age statement, the non-chilled filtered, the natural color statement, all that information is on here. An independent bottler. The only thing, of course, I'd like to know is what distillery, but I'm sure we'd have to pay more for the rights of that name. Now, distillery does not like other independent bottlers using their name unless, of course, we pay for it, because that's actually going to either maybe water down their brand or maybe even harm their brand. For example, imagine if someone had a problem with maybe some of the capsules, or maybe something had been the whiskey itself had been, because out of the control of the company now, had somehow been tainted or altered with, and of course I'd fall back on the reputation of the original distillery that actually distilled this, and that's what we try to avoid. And that's why it's just a Speyside whiskey and not a Glenfiddich or the Glenlivet or whatever other distillery you're talking about. Very nice stuff. I like it. I'm going to give it a C to C plus for value for money, a C to C plus. If you can find it, I would highly recommend it. I'm not really too sure about the green color here, but hey, no one asks me about my opinion to design topics. All the best. What is your favorite whiskey around the 30 to 35 euro a mark that has non-chilled filter, that is natural color, that has an age statement on it, and that is available maybe? All right, I'm going to tell you mine. Glendronach 12. This is a tough whiskey to beat in its price class. This is amazing stuff. I've heard that there's going to be a redesign of the Glendronach. I've heard that the prices will go up in the future. So if you can get one or two at a very reasonable price now, please do, before the prices jump. And I think you will not be disappointed. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. All the best. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, maybe even share this video on social media. I would much appreciate it. Bye-bye.